Oh, can you send me back? I forgot my glasses. And so the government will never know.
How would they know?
They'll never know.
Oh, Sean, you again?
It's so plush.
Yeah, OGL 1.0, the best thing ever. I'm so glad Wizards did that.
Anybody who doesn't agree with it should just...
So, have you heard of the game?
I just lost the... Oh, hey.
Oh, jeez. Hey.
You all right?
Yeah. I was Dark Sean there for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You ever get the feeling we've done this before?
No.
No.
I mean, we're so good at this.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the off-brand flakes I had this morning for breakfast. I don't know.
You're up your flake game.
My flake game is low. Well, I'm just gonna...
Yeah.
Before I... Welcome to Caffeine and Cantrips, the show where we talk about D&D, or else.
Or else.
Hello, I'm Byron, number 189.
And I'm Sean, number 163.
Yeah. This week, these long-tongued, no-bowel coxcombs will be...
Wait, what combs?
Coxcombs.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. We're going to be studying the stars, sniffing the incense, and pretending to be cool, like us.
Oh, okay.
So, summon your favorite resting furniture apparatus, prestidigitate your best beverage to the perfect temperature, and shoo your familiars to the other room or dimension. Today, we're discussing what it means to be magical.
Ooh.
Huzzah!
Well, welcome everybody to this episode of Coxcombs and Cantrips. And a little bit of caffeine.
A little bit of caffeine. A little bit.
Today, in this episode, we're going to continue on with our unboxing classes series. In this episode, we're talking about our magic people. What's a better term for magic people, you think?
Magic archetypes.
Magic archetypes? Yeah.
Magic
Dust,
baby.
We're just going to dig into sort of what it is exactly to have a magical archetype character and how we can sort of break that out from our traditional magical classes. That's to say the wizards and warlocks, sorcerers, bards, and the like.
So much like what you saw before in our first episode, we took martial characters, or not even martial characters, we took characters and made them martially flavored, martially focused in how they approach the world around them, how they deal with problems. This time, we're going the opposite route to magical fairy dust.
Ooh.
And how to get that everywhere, like Tinkerbell explosions. Plural. So, that's where we're going to go. Tinkerbell's explosions.
Z, because it's cooler that way.
Oh, the new kids like it that way with the Z. Yeah, so I think maybe you did such a great job last time talking about what that kind of looks like. Why don't you take a stab at this one again?
Okay. Great. You think about it for a second.
Okay.
Okay, I got it. Like before,
Yes.
when we talk about the martial guys and gals and people of all shapes and sizes, I think I'm going to start off with defining what exactly a magical archetype really what that is, right? So that we know what we're talking about when we're talking about magical archetypes.
Sure.
But the thing is about magical archetypes and the talk that we're going into is that we can't get started until we define exactly what our viewer archetype is.
A viewer archetype.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think our viewer archetype is?
I think our viewer archetype consists of those that reach forth and push the like button.
Oh, okay.
And maybe, just maybe, once they're past the acolyte phase of just pushing the like button, they can also get in there and subscribe as well. And their spell tome will just continue to fill out with all of the rituals and wonderful caffeinated cantrips they can cast in the future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And, you know, once they get to Grandmaster stage, you can start singing our praises to the heavens.
Oh, with the comment section.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's exactly
I wish there was like a musical comment section. I think that could be really awesome on certain sections of the internet.
Caffeine and Cantrips, they suck.
Raise the roof.
Wonderful.
All that in a bag of chips.
Yeah. With that out of the way, let's talk about our magical archetypes.
Yes.
Right?
And you can be more than one archetype at a time. You can be a viewer and
magical viewer archetype.
I love it.
But you gotta make sure, as a magical archetype though, that we use, correct me if I'm wrong guys, but I think it's a character that uses creativity and their imagination and their sort of will to solve problems that are put in front of them and to manipulate the environment around them. As opposed to your sort of direct physical force, it's creativity and imagination and things that are sort of out of the box.
Okay.
Right? They, of course, have the ability typically to harness the power of magic. Right? And they use that to create magical effects.
Right.
Which is different, I need to point out, than the ability to cast magical spells.
Very different. Yes.
Right? To be able to harness magic.
Yes, they don't have to be the focal point for the magic that they're using.
They don't not be the source of the magic.
Right.
Right? They're not casting it, but they need to be able to, I think, harness magic in some way. Right? And then they also then typically have an understanding, of magic and how it sort of works in the world.
Okay.
Like even a sorcerer has some kind of understanding, even though it's a different kind of understanding than a wizard.
Sure.
They have an understanding of magic and how it sort of manifests in the world. Right?
Yeah, when we're talking about caster classes and the difference between them. Yeah.
And with this definition, I think, if we're using this, then we can expand what we call magical characters, magical archetypes, right? Then, because it isn't limited to spellcasters, now with this, when built correctly, any character can be magical archetype.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Do you think I missed anything in there, or is it inaccurate?
No, I think you've actually opened it up a little bit to a wider conversation.
Yep. That's what I was trying to do.
Well, happy to hear that. Because we can really start digging into a lot of different ideas and a lot of different niches now, other than you must be able to cast a spell to get past this line, right?
Yeah.
To become a magical character.
Yeah.
It makes it far more interesting, I think.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to open it up to be characters like maybe something like a sage, or correct me if I'm wrong. In Diablo, Deckard Cain doesn't actually cast any spells, but he's obviously a magical archetype.
Well, he is a surviving member of the Herodrim.
Right, and they're mages, I think is what they're called.
He casts a lot of identifies.
I don't think he casts it. He just knows.
I don't know. He touches it and it goes.
He just makes that sound with his mouth. It goes, Huang. That's what he does.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huang.
Wow. Huang. You had a different Deckard than I did.
Ciao.
That's a very different kind of an idea when we're talking about a magical character. But I think you're absolutely correct, regardless of the mouth noises they make. When you look at them and you can tell that they obviously have an extremely deep experience and understanding of the magic of the world around them, but they themselves might be not possessing that themselves, right?
Or like they go into the crypt, right? They're like, oh, how do I get through this door? Oh, let me look at the ruins. I have a knowledge. Oh, I can decipher it, and now I can harness the magic that's in the door already.
Yeah.
To unlock it, right? So I'm harnessing magic. I don't cast knock.
No.
To open the door, right? But I have the ability to harness the magic that's there, right? Which is, and it's hard to deny that kind of a character who's like that magic sage who knows the religion and the background and can sort of, it's in that magical world.
Yes.
I don't know. It'd be hard for me to debate that person is not magical archetype.
Is not a magical archetype is supposed to be a magical class.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think you're on kind of a very interesting slant here when we talk about that. And I think that there's an extension of the conversation that you kind of have to pay attention to in asking then, what is magic in your world? Right. So if you're world building or you're a player that's going into a new world, you're experiencing this whole new world, right? Whether you're on a carpet or you're doing it by foot. When we're looking at these things, it is important then to ask, what does it look like? How does it interact with what's going on? Okay. Because like you said, okay, we've got a sage character who's very magical in archetype.
Okay.
Where does he get it from? Well, he goes and he just finds the old books buried in the crypts. And he himself casts no magic, but the rituals are in the books. And when he uncovers them, reads them, understands them, he can replicate them and then do the magic from the book. He's using the item to do the thing. And is that buried in your world? Is your world full of latent magic where that's in items and in things as opposed to in people? Or is it more of stereotypical, not wrong, but is it more stereotypical of a D&D or TTRPG kind of world where the characters themselves possess the powers to do things, and whether the power is technological or it's sorcery or it's whatever, how they're actually applying that into the world. So are they the focus of the magic, or is the magic in the world and they're just interacting with it?
Right.
I think that's a huge, huge idea that's going to cast forward what we're talking about when we look at the practitioners in the world. Right. And what classifies as a magical archetype. Right. So is it the gadgeteer who's collected a whole bunch of things, right? Like we've seen in the Van Helsing series. Or time over time that they've got their own version of, Bond to Q. They've got like a Van Helsing to an inventor who's scribing things onto the stakes and like making holy grenades and yada yada yada. They've got it's the toe of Saint Christopher is in here, but it's dipped in the water and blah 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 that was blessed by this guy.
Or like the Constantine.
Yes, another perfect example.
That slight like mystical edge to sort of everything.
Yes. Yeah, like any good kind of crime fighter, in this case, Constantine's a supernatural crime fighter. He's got his man in the chair that's still creating stuff, going through the books and whatnot. So between both of them, there could still be magical archetypes. One is the action-oriented version of it, the application of the tools. The other one is the creation, the uncovery, the mystery. And so when we have those things, they fit to that magical archetype. They are using an excessive amount of magic in enchantments, but they are casting nothing. It's them just using these almost like a martial character, right? Using the tools around them. But like you said, instead of using a tool, their will is expressed through whatever you want to call it, an arcane energy, an ephemeral, a divine energy when we get into it. However that's being impressed, we're putting it on this formless substance, making it into something, and then using that tool of our own creation. And that's what I think makes them really cool. Right? Is that you're just like, what is it? Well, it's a glob of nothing. What could it be? Well, I can make it anything. What do you need? Right? As opposed to, I've got a sword, it does sword things. I'm going to do sword things with my sword and maybe some not so sword things with my sword. But no matter what, I'm going to make the sword work as a multi-tool. Right? And that's where it becomes very, very different. And so kind of going along with that, I think we have to look at the practitioners. Who's using the magic? Right? And like I said, if it's in a world of Constantine, nobody's using the magic except for Constantine and that kind of club and circle and the angels and the
that hidden world.
Right? In our D&D games or in our TTRPG games, how well spread is the magic, right? What does an average magic user look like, right? Or what does a average kind of magical archetype person use? Is it super fancy that somebody brings an animated firework to a party and scares half the locals with it? Does that character look magical? Well, they got robes and a hat, but that's like Deckard. No, there's nothing else there. They're not doing it, but they're making the world around them.
He's no Nephilim.
Exactly. So how do we really kind of dig into it and get past that barrier of what does it take for the average person to believe that you're not just like a street magician and really believe that you're a magical kind of person, right?
It's interesting that you bring up that point, because if I take that idea further and say you've got a campaign world or a country or whatever that's just super magical, and like magic is pervasive. And people use it like pervasive, like electricity is in our world.
Right.
Like the peasant is like, yeah, I just put it in my magical microwave to warm up my food, right? My magical lights that turn on and off.
Push the sigils on the outside.
Right,
After
magical
closing the
heating,
container.
magical hot water.
Yep.
Like the magical cart that I take to work every day.
I don't know how it works, but I use all these artifacts around me, and they just work. I don't have to know.
So then a dude is like, "Oh, look at me! I have a magical flashlight." People are like, "That's
a suncaster flashlight."
But a sun, whatever, right? But then it's not magical in that world.
No,
right?
It becomes mundane.
A person would have to be so much more magical in order to feel like they're a magical archetype in that world.
Right.
Whereas if you were in a world that had almost no magic, having a handheld suncaster would be like, what? You hold the power of the sun within your hands?
Right.
Right? All of a sudden you're like a prophet of the gods, right? Because
and we know that even in our world, there's this saying that technology of a certain advanced nature, when it becomes past a certain point, it becomes almost magical.
Yeah.
Right? Just because of our comprehension of it. And so when we play with our own timeline in the real world, an iPhone, a microwave, these things are mind-blowing. The ages of the past, of what they do and what they harness. But you take them out of that kind of scenario, your iPhone soon becomes a little brick because you can't charge it with the electricity that it needs, right? You can't read, all of these things. When you take it out of its element, it then becomes very mundane once again. Super cool. There's tons of technology in it, but we can't deal with it because at that point, it's too far away from what else we've got. So what is that line in your world, right?
That's interesting.
And let's not set it as level 2 spells, level 3 spells.
Oh, yeah.
What is the feeling of it, right? Because you can have a practitioner who, let's say, has mastered cantrips.
Okay.
Right? And you can have a person who's mastered alchemy. Who can put on the better firework display? Right? One person can ignite their powders and their things and throw them in the air and whatnot, and they're creating these bursts of color and whatnot, and it's all science, but it appears magical to the audience. And then another person can come up with no potions, no kind of baubles or whatnot, and do the same thing. Which one becomes more magical?
Definitely the alchemist.
Interesting.
Well, because cantrips you can only cast once every standard action, right?
Once every 6 seconds? Yeah, okay.
Whereas the alchemist can just set it all up and it's just fireworks display.
So the alchemist has a way better grand finale, is what you're saying.
Right? You can't prepare cantrips.
I don't think you can. No, delayed blast cantrip is not something that the average caster has.
Did Gandalf use cantrips? No, he did not.
He used fireworks.
He used alchemy.
He did.
Yeah.
So
there was a reason for that.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. And when we're doing that, when we're talking about these practitioners to the masses, how do the masses respond to that?
Right.
Is magic a fearful thing? Is it controlled? Is it been dangerous and devastated the world already? And so now people are fearful of even the smallest amount of it. Or is it the golden age where everybody is diving into the books, diving into the research and trying to expand their knowledge of what it is so that they can become the Deckard Cains of the next generation?
Right.
Whether it's just because they know how it works and they're practitioners in research and knowledge, or they're practitioners of actual application of it. How do the masses respect that or react to it? Because I think that's going to inform a lot of what you need to do to look like a magical character. Right. Do you need to hide? Does a magical archetype character need to be very, very careful about what they're doing? Very, very quiet. Or can they be loud and flamboyant and blusterous? Because both of those are really going to affect what it looks like in your world.
Yep.
Right? And I hate that I'm not kind of going into more of like last time where we talked about what do they look like? What do they sound like? How do they think or whatnot? Because magic is very different. In its essence, right? It's very different. It is something spectacular and supernatural and whatnot.
Well, and the possibilities, like we talked about even in the definition, it's all about creativity and uniqueness and imagination, right? And that can be anything.
It really can.
In the books, the D&D books even say like every mage has their own flavor of magic. Right? So it really can be anything. And it, like you said, depending on the world that it's in, can really change the context of that magic.
Yeah. So I mean, let's even look at a really fantastic world that has very little magic in it, which is like Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
There are dragons flying around there or whatnot. But Jon Snow is out there with his Valyrian blade sword that kicks ass. It's better than all the other swords out there. There's very few of these magical-esque items out there.
Right.
The characters aren't magical. The characters don't promote magical kind of natures, but the items that they have become renowned. So I would call that system a low magic system.
Okay.
People aren't out there throwing magic around. They're not doing fireballs. They're not doing fire bolts, right?
Yeah.
But there are some people who become extremely renowned for their talent, for their ability. Oh, this is Long Fang, right?
Right.
The blade of renown passed down from father to son through generations. There's a history attached to this. And this +1 sword has now achieved almost like an artifact or legendary status.
But it's just a +1 sword.
But it's just, breaking it down to a mechanical term, right? Or maybe it glows blue when there's bad guys around, right? Like Sting.
That's all it does.
No, I think it was +1, technically. They made it a +1 level,
okay.
but it did glow blue when orcs were nearby.
Yeah.
So, these things are in worlds where there is magic kind of woven into it because we're looking at the creatures, right? We're looking at the characters. We're looking at the gods. There's actual gods a lot of times.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Yeah. Game of Thrones, I would consider that low.
Okay.
So to be a magical archetype, you're like one of those meisters, right? You're that alchemist again and whatnot. You can do things with other things. You're imposing your will into them and creating things. So watch how you go through low magic, moderate magic, high magic, and what I would consider also is banned magic is another one. Where we know about magic, but it is forbidden.
Forbidden.
Yes, prohibitado, right? You can't do it. You can't touch it. It's now considered a black art or a black kind of stain on society. Yes. And with that, we have to be a little bit careful with those characters because we need to know that going into it. Right. Right. And so that we can properly adopt that character into that world and fill out the archetype.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly and only what we're thinking. So, I think really the world is going to give you the best mirror on what a magical archetype is for the game that you're playing. Yeah. Right. And I think that's probably the best gauge of, do you feel like you got a little X factor in there? Are you a little bit of a spicy character? Or do you just kind of rely on the cold, hard iron around you?
Right. I mean, that's really important, especially because you're not, in the context of what we're talking about today, we're not depending on necessarily spell casting.
We are not.
Right.
We are not.
So you'll need all the pluses that you can to taste magical.
Oh,
to have that magical taste to your character, right? That magical color,
right,
to your character. But like, let's go into some specifics then.
Okay.
On sort of, I don't really like to talk about mechanics too much, but in this case, I think I want to sort of dig into it a little bit of sort of things that you can, how you can sort of build a character to give them that magic,
that flavor, that color. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about, for sure, in our definition already, that ability to harness the power of magic. And that's fairly easy through magical items. Because I think, anyone can use magical items, really, if you know how to do it.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Older editions had far more limitations.
Yeah.
But now there's
and everyone
much
can attune to whatever. You have a limited number.
Certain.
But, right? Anyone.
And we found out there's certain alignment ones that
there's certain class ones that only
wizards, only fire.
But besides those ones, there's a huge variety, right? That you can use. You can always attune, unattune, have it in your bag, like your little grab bag of magical power or effects that you can pull out for different situations, right?
Yes.
You can. I guess you have to remember, like I said, like the source of your magic doesn't have to be your character. Again, if you don't have the items, maybe you have the skills to harness the magic that's already in the world.
Sure.
So that
look at Aladdin, right? has no magical capability of himself, but has to
the
keep the
genie.
secret of the genie.
Right.
The secret of all of
Right.
his host of characters behind him. But he himself started to live a magical life through their application. He himself harnessed their abilities and their friendships, but he harnessed what it was to change his world.
Yeah.
A whole new world.
A whole new world. Oh. So, I mean, other things you can do is skills. Arcana, obvious choice, right? The Deckard Cain has all the Arcana, passes all of his Arcana checks. He knows all the old legends. He knows all the items. He knows all the locations of all the crypts. And, like, he knows everything about that arcane magical world, right?
Right.
He doesn't cast spells, but he has got that Arcana check. Other skills I think that would work well is history.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Jeez, what was that?
No, I just thought how quaint it is that in the original Diablo, it was 100 gold to identify an item.
Yeah.
And now it's 100 gold pearl to identify an
you
item.
should-
Yeah, it's so
Once.
when you,
Yeah.
yes, once. You only need the one pearl.
Just tell me like how you doing.
Yeah, one pearl. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Jeez, good. So Arcana, history checks.
Yes.
History would
interestingly.
work
Yes.
because that's all about, like, sure, I know Arcana, but maybe I don't know Arcana and the workings of what a spell might look like. But I do know the history of this area and maybe the precursors that lived here, and I know about their ruins. I can read their writings, right? So the history would help you with that, especially if they were a highly magical society, right?
And a great example of that is bards with their lore knowledge versus the spell legend lore.
Correct.
Right? We're taking that spell, but no, it's just an ability. Now you can make it magical arcane. The bard or whoever can consult their texts or do whatever ritual of understanding it is. And they're like, oh yeah, this is his favorite comb. The archdemon's favorite comb.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Right? They're like, stay a while. I'm here, sure. Well, I tell you about it. Another great skill is religion, which is similar,
Right.
but in the religious sense. If you're dealing with old cultists, old religions, whatever, right?
Because you should have.
Yeah.
Or you can, if you want, in your character creation, you can decide that your character does have knowledge of occult things, as well as approved holy systems, right? Whatever pantheon, whatever gods, the good ones, they can also know about some of the bad ones,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're an expert at it,
Yes.
right? So that's the skills. There's always, besides skills, you can go into feats.
Feats opens it up.
Opens it up.
You want flavor, this is your
Yeah.
kung pao.
You can if you want to add spellcasting, you can add spellcasting. Right? To a fighter, like, oh, he's a fighter. He hasn't studied, but he knows just enough because of his studies of Arcana, whatever, to cast a cantrip. Right? Or ritual casting is perfect. Right? I don't know how to cast the spell per se. I know the rituals that create that magical effect.
I think you just touched on the most underrated feat
Oh, it's so good
in the entire system.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
But why do you say it's under? Or do we digress?
Because it allows anyone to come in and do so many things with imposing their will on the world in a magical sense, right? It doesn't, like you said, they can do the rituals and then they can take the rituals and they can move that directly into application into their world to solve problems, to create interesting RP, to provide favors for NPCs or for other party members. It opens the book. You know, for a fighter, it blows the doors open on the armory, right? For a wizard or for a caster, it opens a door into a world of mysteries and interest and whatnot that can provide that level of interest and magic and flavor and color to a low magic world, a magic derelict world, whatever. You find a book and the DM passes you a card that says, you know, in this book, by reading it, you have gained the feat Ritual Caster. Read the book to see what magic is therein, right? And so then it goes into like, oh, this is why there's, you know, Indiana Jones style. This is why there's museums full of these artifacts that they've recovered, but they're in crates. Nobody sees them, nobody touches them, but they're cataloged. We know exactly where they are. And then the bad guys break in and steal all of them. And now it's a problem. And we don't know why it's a problem because it's just some old stuff, right? No, it's not. So I think that, that's a short version of why Ritual Caster, applying that into the world, having some people, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen. And yes, the Ritual spell list is kind of small, but who says people aren't making their own magic? Who says people aren't finding old magic that's been forgotten?
Yeah.
So underrated.
Yeah. But it's also, it's such an easy way and sort of reaching kind of a manner to add magical abilities to your non-magical caster classes and characters, right? A rogue can do it, and it makes perfect lore sense. A fighter can do it, and right? They can all it's just rituals, right? That I found in a book somewhere. Now I can, right? It's not my magic.
No.
It's the power of the ritual and the magic in the world.
Well, what a great scene when, the party is trying to escape or whatnot, and there's a barrier blocking them from finally exiting, and the horde of, denizens of the deep are chasing them. Okay, guys, I know we can get out of this, but you have to hold them off for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I can get us out, but you just have to hold them off for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? It's 10 minutes, life or death. Here we go. And the tension of that scene as the DM rolls out their battle map or puts the theater of the mind and describes their bastion. You must hold the Alamo for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And the person in the back, maybe it's your big DPS person. Maybe it's your tank or your kind of frontline fighter. Nope, sorry, they're not in the fight. They have to focus on this for 10 minutes. And it's such a good, cool thing as they pull out this ancient book and go through the pages, try not to break the brittle kind of papyrus that's there, and then they start chanting or they start drawing symbols. And you're like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. And then you make that person go do jumping jacks for 10 minutes while you do the fight or something. Make them do something that keeps them, invested or whatnot.
Just make them stand in the corner and chant. Say this, don't mess it up, I'm listening.
Right, yeah. No, just hand them 10 pages of lorem ipsum. Just like, here you go. Any mistakes? But that's what I'm saying is part of the story even, right? DMs can use this to bring it in and be like, no, this is why you've been doing it. This is why these cool things that you've been collecting are important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the other feats I want to talk about, they're not as good as Ritual Caster. Like, Ritual Casting is my favorite for this.
Approved.
Right?
Caffeine Cantrips approved.
The other ones are like Magical Initiate, Aberrant Dragon Mark, Fey Touched, Spell Slaver. This is ones that add cantrips or a level 1 spell or something like that, right? Again, they work really well. They give a touch of magic spell casting to your character, not too much, but they're not as cool as Ritual Caster. I feel like it's cheating a little bit.
It's so much application. It's always interesting to go, hey, fighter, can I have another one of those berries that you just always seem to have in your pouch?
Yeah.
Because I'm really hungry, and those always hit the spot, right? Like, can I have some? Yeah, man, sure. Here you go. Yeah. You should feel better. You should feel better. Here's one. Or, whatever it is. It's now just, the snacks that the fighter always has. Yeah. It's not, I dipped and I took Goodberry, right? Like, No, it's just, it's playing into he always has snacks. I don't know why he always has snacks, but he always has snacks. I love it. I love it about the character. Right? And then you can dig in and go, that's like interesting, super subtle kind of magic. How do you always have, I never see you buy them. We haven't seen a town in 6 months.
Yeah.
But you always have a little snack. How do you do that?
It's good. Give me your Bro,
snack.
Of your snacks.
Snacks at the table.
And the last thing I want to talk about under adding color, the magic color to your character is pay attention to the visual language of your character. Say it is a fighter or a barbarian. Typically, they're heavy armor. They don't have to be, but say they are heavy armor.
Right.
I want the AC. How do I make them feel magical? Well, it's pretty easy. Give them a floppy hat and a cloak, right? Over their armor, right? Or
is he wearing a smoking jacket on top of his plate mail? That dude has class.
Ooh. Or maybe he fights with a staff. He holds a staff. He doesn't fight with a club. The staff, right? But he's just really good. Right? You can make them look and act and speak like a magic person.
Yes.
Right? You would never have known that Gandalf wields a sword.
Until he whipped it out.
Yeah, because he looks like a wizard and he
Yes.
speaks like a wizard and
Yes.
he moves like a wizard.
Yes.
Until he's charging at you on a freaking white stallion and with a sword in his hand.
Shadowfax, thank you.
Was he white or is he gray? Shadowfax.
Shadowfax is white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean,
No.
the LOTR guys, they're coming.
Actually.
Yes. No, I think
what?
you touched on something actually very interesting and very important. And I was waiting for you to get through the awesome ritual caster thing. Because I wanted to bring it again. You're talking about flavor and color in the world around you, and I think the best tool that you're using is one that you can use in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And so imagination and creativity, these are our tools to really harness what's going on in front of. I don't care if you've got the best Dwarven Forge layout. I don't care if you've got the best wipeable, remarkable paper and pen skills ever. You're an artist without
Expertise.
compare, right? I don't care if you're doing just theater of the mind. But in every application of this game and in these stories, we are always operating at a level that's in our minds.
Right.
We are seeing the movie in our minds, and we are using the stimulus in front of us to help keep everybody on the same page.
Okay.
But what's happening is in our minds. The fighter swings 3 times. The caster throws the fireball, that little spark of light that explodes into a supernova, right? You don't show that on the battle map. You say that, you describe that. What does that look like? How does that feel, right? Talk about the 5 senses. When you're doing it, when somebody says, I'm going to cast this or I'm going to do this, I'm going to pull forth the sword and evoke its, 3 times per day ability.
Right.
Okay, cool. What does that look like? I want, just like in any combat, I want you to pick like 3 senses and give a quick description, 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentences, something quick. Pick 3 senses, hit them, and that's what it does, right? All those in close combat, shield their eyes from the bright light that's as I withdraw the blade from its sheath, holding it aloft to my forehead. The air smells of ash and cinder, right? And then the heat bursts forth from the blade. Bursts! It doesn't even burst. Right.
What kind
of feeling? I just got blursted. Right. Okay, cool. It doesn't take that much time in a game session, right? To just say this really cool thing instead of, I draw a super sword and I cast fireball. Or I cast burning hands or whatever it is.
Blurring hands.
Never gonna live that one down. So I think when we do that, when we evoke the magic in our creativity and in our imagination, it becomes magical. It becomes cool. It becomes invest worthy to the rest of the players around you. And so as a note, I would say, try and pick maybe different senses each time that you're talking about, right? How often do we talk about smell on the battlefield? Because there are some smells on the battlefield, right? I know that famously and very interestingly, you've had a character in our past that had like delicious scents of like bakery and peppermint and stuff like that.
His magic was all like
Fey based in your decision.
It was what was it? Comfort food smells. Yeah.
And so the magic that you're evoking, yes, you're prestidigitating something clean, but it's clean and it smells like peppermint now, right? Like it's got that little extra kind of thing. And so there's that, that's cool. That's you. That's your character implying the will not only to the other characters, but to the story and to the observers, right? We're taking it up in layers and it just evokes such a clearer, more interesting picture in our minds. And so I think, don't be slumping. Don't be slow on that. And if you're, like I said, if you're looking for something and how to do it, write down the 5 senses and maybe put a check mark next to it when you use an ability or use a thing and say, and you reference one of the senses. What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? Whatever it is, just put a little check mark next to it and see what you're doing. See where you favored. Try and make some of the ones that you're lacking on, right? It'll allow you to watch how you're being creative and kind of explore from there. So I think that's a cool kind of thing that we can do and we can watch and we can double check on. But looping back, I think when we're talking about magical characters, and magical worlds and whatnot, we have to then talk about the problems with certain things. And what they do by kind of rules as written versus our interpretation of them when we expand them out into the world and when we really take these thoughts to the end of the road.
Yeah.
So, starting with the problem with Arcana.
Well, before we talk about problems with Arcana,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the problem that I have with people who haven't yet liked and subscribed
Find the
to
magic.
our content yet.
Make the magic
Right.
happen.
Follow, all that stuff. We don't want a problem between us, right?
We don't want to find those martial archetypes and
Right?
send them over.
So let's just not be problematic and just gently click and ding, and we'll be all good.
That was persuasion. That wasn't intimidation.
That was Arcana.
Was it Arcana? Oh, okay. That's an interesting Arcana check. Charisma Arcana. Yes, please do. And then we'll talk about the bad stuff.
Oof. Okay.
All right. I heard the click. And if you didn't, click away. So, Arcana. When we're looking at it, kind of rules as written and whatnot, Arcana is one of the thresholds that can allow you to just start creating magical items.
Okay.
So something, and if you're not aware of this as a DM or as a player or whatnot, something that I think you need to decide in your session zeros, in your world building, is what way are magical items created in your world? So we're going to do kind of 3 ways here real quick. Number 1 is the DMG.
Yep.
So 5th edition DMG,
Yeah.
a 5e, has 4 things that
Yep.
they label. You need a formula on how to build
Yep.
it. You need to be able to cast a spell. So you must be a spellcaster, not a magic user.
Right.
But you must be a spellcaster and able to cast the spell that will be affecting the item.
Okay.
Okay. 3rd, you need to be of a certain level to create a certain power of magical item. And last is time and materials, which is just gold. You just spend gold
okay.
to cover your costs, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so those 4 things: formula, being able to cast spells and the spell you need for the item, the level, and time and materials.
Okay.
Okay? When we go to Xanathars, they modified it, and
they
this is
do.
where Arcana comes in.
Yeah.
So anyone with Arcana may attempt to create a magical item.
Yep.
Okay? In Xanathars, the 4 things that you need is, once again, a formula.
Right.
Material is now its own separate thing, and it suggests that the DM creates a special material that you create a side quest for that a PC has to go and get, right? As opposed to the material just being included in the cost of what it is. The spell is the important thing. Now it's the exotic material that becomes the important thing. Golden time, and then you need a tool or the skill to create the item.
Yep.
No level requirement.
Yep. No.
So a level 0 sage is out there creating Holy Avengers.
Yep.
He's just up in the mountains, just making Holy Avengers all day, every day, and he's got a whole shed full of them and he doesn't care. Okay, great. That's possible in the Xanathar system. Anyone can create immense magical things as long as they have 2 skills and a pile of gold.
Yeah.
Right? And something funky. Awesome. I don't know. Oh, the 3rd way is custom, whatever you want to do.
Ah.
Okay. And we're not going to dig into that because that's whatever you want to do. That's your table, your rules. Is it a blend? Is it whatnot?
I suggest DM bribes,
Oh, yes. Yes.
cash money.
All about the vengeance. So when we're talking about the world building and what's going on with it, I think that's an important distinction.
Yep.
Can anyone with Arcana do it, or do you need to be a skilled bladesmith that in the DMG takes 55 years, I think, to create a legendary item?
Oh wow.
Yeah, if one person's working on it, it's like 500,000 gold and 55 years, and you're still paying for your cost of living, blah, 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 blah. So when we start looking at certain fantasy systems, right? Lord of the Rings is a good one, right? The elves made the best stuff.
Of course they did.
Right? The dwarves made super awesome stuff, but everyone was like, oh, the elves make the best stuff. Why? Well, because they're immortal. They can spend 55 years hammering away on a sword to make it perfect. Right? A dwarf, if they live 250, 300 years, 50 years is still a big investment.
Yeah.
Right? A human,
20% of your life.
human's not really going to ever do it.
Yeah.
Or probably shouldn't attempt it because that's all they're going to do for their entire life. Right? Harold, are you still out there banging away on this? Yes, Deirdre. Right? Like, yeah, no, that's all they
Took
did.
2 generations to finish this
2
hammer.
generations, yeah. While the rest of the family kept the farm afloat. You know, dad was in there banging away, right? Okay, cool. it then lends to some of the lore when you're building out in the world. But it's also a problem with that skill Arcana, because Arcana is a great gateway into creating a magical feeling character, a magic knowledge character, a magic, like what you said, knows about it, is involved in it, and can kind of use those stuff around them.
Yeah.
If that's your archetype kind of entrance or gateway, it's going to explode, or it can explode in your face unless you control it as players, as the story, as the DM. And that's something that I think you have to watch.
Right. And that's the problem that you have.
That's the problem that I have with it, is that there should be a better discussion, or a discussion at your table, at least in session 0, if people are interested in creating magic. If that's one of the things that you think might happen, is that, or even if you've got a person who's like, yeah, I want to open a shop and I want to make my own magical items. I want to have a wing that just does, healing potions. And I want to do this, and I want to get into business, and I want to do that. Or even if you have a character who's like, I'm a forge cleric, just to pick on one, right? And I want to make the best blank. I want to make the best dagger. I want to make the best holy symbol. I want to make the best one. Okay, cool. That character is invested in item creation, in magical creation. It's going to come up at some point how this is going to go.
Right.
So even if you have it in session 0, maybe it's something to think about now in your campaign.
I don't know if it's a problem so much of it's just something important to talk about.
Well, it's not a problem in your campaign. It's a problem with Arcana. It's a problem with it. So it's a discussion that I think should be had, so that everybody's on the same page. So somebody goes and go, oh, I found a phoenix feather. That means that I can make a ring of resurrection, right? Well, no, we use DMG. So that's just one of the materials that you would have got anyway, that another adventure would have provided you with in the time and gold. Like, so this phoenix feather isn't cool now.
At all.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'll make a
awesome
writing utensil.
Put it in your hat. Yeah, a quill. You give it to the bard. He's like, oh,
I'm so cool.
My pages keep lighting on fire. And so that's why, I don't want to say that it's a problem with you. It's a problem with kind of what it is until we decide.
It's definitely a problem with you.
It's like a Schrodinger-esque kind of problem, right? Is once we look at it and decide what it is, it's fine.
Right.
But while it's there looming, it's a gray area that can be exploited.
Right. You don't know if it's fine or
misunderstood.
If it's not fine.
Yeah. Right. I think that's one of the big ones. Okay. That's one of the big ones.
I can agree with that.
The other one, I think more quickly, that I would also like to say is you need to decide if PCs are special in your world, or if they all kind of follow the same character creation rules, if they all come from the same place. And the reason I say this is because humans get a free feat. Right? So even if you look at it statistically, how many humans are just going to pick magical initiate? Is there a space in your society for all of the people that just have latent magic ability?
Some 3-month-old kid baby is like, oh, ritual casting.
Yeah.
What's this menu?
Gotta
pick lucky. Who doesn't want to pick lucky? Who doesn't want to pick OP feet right there?
Right. I think it's important to decide if your PCs are special, and if they are a cut above or a cut different, cut from a different cloth or whatever, or if they are an example of the everyman who succeeds into something higher. They break through the ceiling.
Even worse, because it's only the variant humans who get the free feat.
No.
All the other normal humans don't.
No, humans do.
Do they?
Humans do, I believe.
Only variant humans got it.
If not, then you're variant humans. But if you allow variant humans...
And you have non-variant humans, that's some crazy caste system.
No, you might be right. You might be right. Only the variant humans do.
Yeah.
But your variant humans, if you introduce custom lineage...
Yeah.
Then there's going to be some custom people out there. So what do we do about these, aberrant floating around feats, and how do they affect the world? Right? Do they become something crazy? Do they become something banned, or is they they carry the mark? We have to hunt down everyone with the mark. How does the world kind of do that?
Interesting.
Or humans are going to ruin everything. They already kind of do if you read the lore around what's going on. But humans will ruin everything, because not only will they be kind of explorers and greedy and wanting for knowledge and power and whatnot, but now you're also giving them nitro in the tank, because you're like, here's some magical ability that's just in your blood. You're not a sorcerer, you're not a magic whatever, you're not a psionicist, you're not whatever, but you got some extra juice. You're like, oh, yeah, no, I was the biggest bully on my block because I could firebolt. just cool. Right? And so that changes how the world works.
Yeah.
Right? So Yeah, I think that's another question that you should. It's not as big as the Arcana because the Arcana always affects everyone.
I don't know. Personally, I think that the PCs should be special.
I agree that
That's why they're
different.
Yeah.
They are different.
But they're different, right? Like you said, because it is a problem when you have 3-year-olds with the ability to spell snipe with Eldritch Blast. Because 3-year-olds have no impulse control and they will kill everyone.
Yes. For fun. It'll be highly enjoyable.
Right, they'll kill themselves.
Even if they Misty Step, they just hop in the air, get up in a tree, and they fall out and they're done.
They're already you have no concept of self-preservation.
Yeah.
So
it's a question you might not have asked yourself, but I think it's a question that you should ask yourself. And this will.
I want to watch that D&D movie. What's it called? They're all variant humans. That's the title.
That's the title of it. They're all variant
It's just
humans. So yeah, coming soon to a theater near you.
Chris Pine? Yeah, Chris Pine?
Hey, God. Yes, I think that's a much smaller issue.
Yes.
But one just for flavor of the world and color of the world.
Would you play that campaign?
I don't know. That sounds like a nightmare for the DM of just tables that he's got to roll for every human. Okay, so statistically, there's 3,000 people that live in this community, and that means that 30 of them have magical ability, and what's that going to be, and who are they, and what do they do, and have they existed?
It'd be chaotic fun, though. I'd love it. For a little while.
It could be maybe a one-shot or a short-term thing where you're just introduced to Magicville.
And the PCs, you're banned. You cannot make humans.
Right. A non-human campaign. Yeah. I mean, I think most of them kind of are these days.
Yeah, these days.
But anyway, regardless, I think that's two things that we can talk about, right? Both the Arcana and both latent magical power.
Okay.
Right? Especially if it's kind of like a wild thing, like a variant human.
Yeah.
But the other races have innate magical powers as well.
Yeah.
That a lot of times we read up, like, what is dark vision in your world? What does it look like? Like, you know, previously in like second ed, I know, certain times they would come in and they would actually put a description behind it. Like the drow had such powerful dark vision, infravision, that their eyes actually glowed with heat. You could see the heat coming off of their eyes through other infravision users. So does dark vision look different? Like, do people have different eyelids or like irises or pupils change color? Like, do your pupils turn white?
Yeah.
Right when you go dark, and so
is it just like a green kind of color, like night vision?
Right. Well, we do only see in grays.
Yeah.
That is written as kind of the law. Feel free to change it. But once again, that's an interesting kind of idea, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what you're implying that other races, just because they have magical powers on themselves, they're sort of automatically like can you repeat the point?
Oh, sure. Don't forget about it or make it mundane. Right? It is
make it
innately
special.
magical.
I see. Okay.
Don't just look over it because it's a toe tag on the description of all of the cool things that you could do in your character, blah blah blah. Right? No. Your Sylvan elves or your woodland elves, they naturally blend into the background. They're just so environmentally, naturally synonymous with the wild that they blend into the. They can hide in plain sight. They break the rule of stealthing, right? That's just naturally how they are. They're predator.
I mean,
right?
and going back to your first point, depending on what kind of world you have, say it's a low magic. Maybe being an elf already is super mystical and magical, right? You're like, what?
We've had the conversation before. Elves are OP, right?
Like super magical. You're a magical being. Doesn't matter. Like you're a baker and you're a super magical archetype already, just by the fact that of your race.
Well, once again, high elves. If you're looking at just the PHB, right? High elves get to pick a cantrip.
Yeah.
All elves have spells, period, right? Well, all elves of that racial kind of subtype.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wait, what? They all have a spell thing? Yes. Every elf can at least cast a cantrip. Wow, okay. So no, it isn't just, I took Mage Hand.
Baby Legolas. Pew!
No, he took True Strike, the cheater.
Yeah,
and that's why he became so good
cheater.
at the bow. But useless True.
That's why Gimli's just so
angry all the time. Cheating as a bonus action? I don't think so. But no, so when we look at these things and we're talking about an archetype,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's really read into what's in front of us and be creative and like zoom in on what's going on, because it is our creativity, it is our interpretation, it is every little minute detail that you want to focus on, you can. And you can really kind of do that in any way you want.
That's really awesome. The way that you can think of your class or your race itself as being magical already.
Yes.
I can be a fighter, but I'm an elf, so I'm a magical fighter. Already.
And it should be even more special because you can't.
Yeah.
But they can. Right? And you get to live as them in this body for a little bit. So don't take for granted that small stuff.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's interesting that you talk about this innately magical magical quality of your race. I think another way of sort of making a sort of a magic archetype character is, now you'll probably need some buy-in from your DM to talk about this.
Okay.
But you can just reflavor class features to be magical.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, for example, a fighter, right? They have high strength, high constitution, but you can always describe them as being skinny, right? And maybe they don't appear very tough or strong,
right?
But their stats are really high because it's the magic within. Like they're actually mages, but their magic is all based on their internal body, right? To make them strong. To give them that constitution, right? Just reflavoring that. But mechanically, they're still a straight fighter. They don't know rituals. They don't know, but they know this magic in the context of my body. Everything is made. All my magic is for fighting.
Interesting.
Fightery thing.
Interesting. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like a barbarian rage can be a magical sort of battle trance that they do magically.
Right. And so like an aura or a shield around them that absorbs that half damage. Right.
Like it's magic. It's not just because I'm so angry. No, that actually makes more sense.
I'm not actually tougher or anything.
Like, because everyone knows being angry doesn't actually make you tougher. That is magical if you think about it.
It is.
Right?
Like overlooking a little detail that could be magical. Rage. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So similarly, you can flavor stealth abilities, multi-attacks. What is it? Just magic makes me faster. I can attack more often. Makes me sneakier. Makes me a little bit more quieter. Right? All those things can be reflavored as sort of magical, due to magical effects, and not because of my physical body or even my physical skills.
You know who's an interesting character that kind of embodies some of this?
Who's that?
I think his name was Lord Commander from Chronicles of Riddick. The one who was like half dead, or called the half dead, been to the afterlife and leading the Necros across the galaxy.
I don't really remember.
Well, in the kind of spoilers
for the rest of us
in the kind of final fight, you know, he's known for being able to like move his limbs, and there's like an after image of like a necrotic version of him that also moves in. But he was just a fighter, but he moves super fast. There was this like necrotic after image of him everywhere, like, because how fast he was moving, how hard he was hitting and whatnot. He was just a fighter, flavored to have all of this extra magical ability that was just there because of a journey that he took past. Which made him so hard to kill because he was already kind of dead, blah, 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 blah. But visually, that fight and that character exemplifies what we're talking about right now, right? Is he super fast? Is he actually? No, he's just got some flavor. Yeah. That character is interesting because he's done these things.
I mean, even if you take a movie like Star Wars, the Jedi and the Sith, barring some of their crazier stuff like telekinesis and like shooting lightning.
Telekinesis is some of the crazy,
right? All the rest of the stuff can just be reflavored fighters. Like a fighter reflavored as magic.
A monk.
Like, exactly, right? Like, oh, what does he do? Like, why is he so good at fighting? It's because of the Force enhances my instinct, so I know where my lightsaber needs to be. Right?
No, his reflexes are just that good. He's just trained his body that much that he knows his sword. Yeah.
Or Jedi mind tricks. It's just a persuasion check that's flavored as the Force, right? Or they can jump really high. Well, it's just acrobatics checks, right?
Athletics.
Or sure.
Yeah.
Well, and do a couple flips and then go through the little tube. All right?
Acrobatics.
But
you brought it back.
the Force,
Yes.
right? It's magic,
Yes.
but really it's just fighter stuff, right? A lot of it. Even they have like battle trances that they can do that the Jedi go into. That's magic, but it's not. It's just me fighting because I'm a great fighter.
Well, yeah,
Like in the mechanics wise, they're just fighters.
Yeah, no, it's
Barring being able to lift things with their
it's
minds.
super funny that you say that because, like, oh no, wait, they have like semi-divination, precognition abilities. No, they're just doing those drills that like athletes do, where you envision yourself catching the ball in the big game, and you just do. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna drop because I'm seeing myself doing this action, and then when I get to that, it actually happened.
I'm meditating because it calms my mind, and I'm in that
Right, you can just
mode
focus.
to be able to be
It's interesting.
a magic warrior, but really he's just a fighter.
So you can take him down, right, and then you can bring them up.
Yep.
Same way.
Exactly.
Yeah, into
Exactly.
space wizards.
So in that way, you can make anyone magic. Like I said, you have to discuss it with your DM. But unless your DM's super like a big stickler for things,
Right.
or maybe they'll be like, hey, maybe that doesn't exist in the world.
Sure.
But you can work together with the DM to figure something out if you want to, right? Because mechanically, they're no different from any other fighter or any other thief
Right.
or rogue or whatnot.
Right.
So it's funny. I say it's simple, but it's probably one of the more complicated ways of doing it because you can do
Simple
anything.
in concept, but
But the actual execution of it,
the magnitude of the change that you can affect is huge.
because and you can that way you can make them as magical as you want
Yes.
and as unmagical as you want. That way, the
Within
different levels.
kind of a bounds and a scope. Yeah, absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely any character can be sort of reflavored as magic. Yeah.
I like it. It's, maybe they were born with it. Maybe it's Caffeine and Cantrip.
It's not Maybelline?
No, I don't know if we're allowed to say that. No, probably are. But
I researched it. We definitely are.
we definitely are. Okay, Maybelline. No, maybe it's just the amount of caffeine and cantrips that they've experienced. No, I like what you're talking about here because every class truly has access to this. And I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit like paladins, rangers, even monks, right? Like a Sun Soul monk going around Gokuing everything with like lightning bolts shooting it, or even the Astral monk that summons armor from another world and arms that are massive juggernaut thing. You can do that easy. That's easy to reflavor. That's easy. But like you said, a fighter. How can we do that? Even in my example of that after image moving around, that's like an Echo Knight maybe, right?
Okay.
With their after image or their echo kind of moving around the battlefield and them switching places. That's how they're moving so fast. A Cavalier has an uncanny talent to be one with the beast they are. It's a quiet magic, a soft magic and control, but they're so bonded with their mount that they act as one on the battle, and they can do things that a regular cavalryman couldn't. Right? Make that magical. Take that quiet bit and stretch it out and add some pixie dust to it, right? Let's get back to Tinkerbell explosions. I think that
And you can add that magical flavoring to it too.
Right.
To a non-magical thing. Right.
And it's already built in. Rune Knights, Psi Warriors, even the Eldritch Knight, the actual Gish of the fighter class, right, has magic. So he can be mad. He first, his body was made strong, even though he's this skinny little wimp guy. And then later on, he began to be able to evoke the magic outside of himself and actually start affecting the world around him, not just his body. Right? What? That's awesome. That's cool, right? And it also defies archetypes and tropes and whatnot. He's not the big burly fighter. He's Steve Rogers before the Captain America treatment.
Right.
But we're going to give him the Captain America power. Right? Cool.
It's not a serum.
No.
It's a magic potion.
It's a potion. That's not the same thing at all. Right? And so we're reflavoring. We're taking the exact same thing and we're just reflavoring the background, right? So let's know that Barbarians is another interesting one that I think is really cool. Ancestral Guardian. Your ancestors are summoned forth to protect your allies. You can't you can't tell me that that's not magic.
Right.
Like, there's dead beneficial spirits floating around.
Is that necromancy?
I think it's just the power of friendship.
Oh, okay. Family ties.
Yeah. Carl Winslow out there. Oh, that's Family Matters. Anyway, I want to play that barbarian subclass.
Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow, and he summons Steve Urkel to protect him. It'll be amazing. But no, so the magic side of it, right? Path of the Beast. Right, your body polymorphs parts of it to become weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the storm barbarian all around. Like even I mean, wild magic. That one's easy too. But like the totem barbarian.
Yeah.
What does he do? Well, he takes less damage. Why? Why? Because maybe you do kind of a Dorian Gray thing. He carries a totem around with him, and the blows that would be struck upon you appear as cuts.
Right.
Cuts on the totem and damage to the totem. And so there's some of this weird, there's some of this weird connection between them and an object that is magical.
Yes.
But what are we doing? We're using the exact same mechanics that the class is talking about. So one guy is so tough and so mad that he just doesn't feel the pain and doesn't take the HP damage. The other guy, no, he's got a piece of wood that he's been ritually bonded to. Right. And so every night he's polishing it, he's sanding it, he's fixing it, right? As part of his kind of daily. Yeah.
That's ritually polishing his wood.
Ritually polishing, yeah. No, I was going to try and not say it like that. But he's maintaining the thing that is saving his life.
Yes.
There is an artifact in the world that he is bonded to that makes him magical.
Yeah.
Right? Makes it more. And what is he? He's a barbarian.
Yeah.
Arguably the most non-magical class.
Arguably.
Yeah, of course. Arguably. There's always an argument.
Yeah.
But when we start looking at it, and like you say, it's difficult to find that initial switch, that initial kind of paradigm shift from non-magical to magical, or even just reading it. Oh yeah, no. D&D's been out for like 10 years. I know barbarians are not mine. They just swing and hit hard. Well, not my barbarian. Not mine. Yes, he does do that, but that's not his focus. That's not my story, not my theme.
He swings really weakly, and he uses magic to convince you to hit yourself hard on his sword. That's his magic.
Please stop hurting yourself. I'm trying to save you.
He's a medic.
It's Tucker and Dale versus Evo campaign, right? They're just throwing themselves on your blades. So, all of those rogues, assassins are a great one. How do you just all of a sudden crit everything?
Right.
Right. No, there's a mystical guidance to your magic. Yeah, we've got to point to the magic sign. Spicy. It's these things we can get out there and we can look at it, and just like in Tasha's, when it says like, what does your fireball look like? Oh, well, I summon a flaming skull and throw it screaming across the battlefield, right? No, what does your rage look like?
Yeah.
Is it just, I go into a quiet killing trance? Do I froth at the mouth and go loud? Or do I summon my mystical shield around me and I charge headlong into battle? Yes. The answer to all three is yes, right? Yeah. That is a possibility. Once again, hopefully you have buy-in from the people around you, that you're saying like, no, I'm playing it by the book. I'm playing the rules. I'm just interpreting it in a little bit of a more creative way. Is that all right?
I mean, there's already a class that does that.
Ooh.
I think. Look at Artificer.
Absolutely.
They are not a magical class.
No.
Right?
Not by the book.
Not by the book.
No,
right?
It's gadgets
they
and
can
gizmos.
cast spells, like in the mechanics, but it's not. It's all, like you said, they're gadgets and they're machines and they're gizmos. That's what makes the effects that are the same as the magical.
Correct.
Effects.
Yes.
Right? But everyone thinks of them as a magical archetype. Because they kind of are.
They absolutely
Because they encourage you to play them like one, imaginative, right, creative, and they change the world around them through the effects of this magical effects, right? But they're not.
No.
They're the perfect class to exemplify what we've been talking about here.
Yeah, and I think that's why we haven't really talked about them, because they already fit the mold of that kind of nice place in between already, where they're taking mundane things and they're making them, even the magical trinket, the thing that they get at the very beginning of the game. What does it do? Whatever I want it to do.
Right? Yeah.
It does a little thing, like it does a little thing, but it's a little clockwork, whatever, or it's a little, I don't know, it's grass around a mushroom. I don't know what it is, whatever the flavoring of your character is. But yeah, when you push it, it lights up. How does the mushroom light up? Well, it's because of the conductive currents of the grass wrapped around the stem. What? That's Arcana? Arcana's freaking cool, right?
There's a problem with Arcana.
There's a problem with it. We need to have a discussion. Yeah, it's really cool, and they already exemplify those things. So I think it's almost too easy to pick on that, rather than we can talk about things that.
I'm sorry for picking on it. It's too easy.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily as easy to get that first paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Because once we open the door, your imagination will take over. You are a creative person, whether you believe it or not. The stuff that you're making is awesome and cool. And right now it's awesome and cool to you. And when you bring it to the table, it'll be awesome and cool for everyone around you.
Yeah.
And if it's not, DM us. We're going to play with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like the stuff that we're getting to here now is kind of the we're 2 steps. We're not 1 step in, we're 2 steps in, because we want to show you how deep the pool is. Come on and dance. Yeah. And so, you know, when we're talking about these things and we're talking about your creativity, a lot of times martial characters tend to stereotypically seem to have very simplified goals.
Right.
And that's a nice thing about them, right? Naruto wants to be Hokage, right? What he said last time, Ash Ketchum wants to be the very best. Okay, cool. Magical characters tend to make it difficult. They tend to want things that require pain, suffering, time, complexity.
They seem to make things complex.
They really do, right? And magical BBEGs do the same thing. I must accumulate the 6 essences of the compass and bring them together to summon forth Balrogus. Instead of just like, is there a way that we can just make 5 piles of dirt and call it something?
Is Thanos a magical archetype? Since he needs all the stones.
Well, it's kind of interesting because you would expect that he doesn't need all 5 stones when the reality stone can just shift reality anyway.
There's a problem with Arcana.
There's a problem with Arcana here, guys. Plot hole. But what makes it kind of fun and interesting is it doesn't have to be.
Yep.
One stone can shift the entire universe into a different universe, and then we just leave it there.
Yep.
Cool. He doesn't have to go collect the other ones.
Yeah.
Why do you need the mind stone to kill half of the people in the universe? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe there is a reason that we don't know why you need the gauntlet and all of them together. Well, I know the gauntlet. Anyway, not going to go there. But why does he need all of the stones when it seems like some of the stones, time doesn't have anything to do with this, right? Okay. Why does he need it? It's overcomplicated. He needs the red one. Boom. Done. We're on lunch.
Yeah.
Right? Simplify. Try and take what you're doing and simplify it like a martial, because it's far too easy when we go, it's magic. You can do anything. And you go, oh, that means that I can do 5,000 things. Right. Instead of, let's start small and expand and build and let complexity come in over time if it needs to be. Right. Simplify it down. I think is one of the things that you can do, even though you want to tend to make it grand and amazing, right? Like the Wizard of Oz, not the man behind the curtain, right? The face and the flames and the sound and whatnot. Let's make it bigger than what it has. What it has to be. While it's nice that this can keep PCs engaged, like, oh, you need 500 pieces for your ritual? That's 500 side quests. Right. Why can't somebody have collected half of them already? And we only really need to go get half plus 2. Right? Like, okay, what part of the idol was actually magic? Oh, it was just the gem? We don't need any of that rock stuff that was carved? Okay, cool. Awesome. Simplify. And I think one of the other things, when we're talking about creating characters, when we're talking about simplifying it and making character choices and whatnot, and to truly make kind of that magical archetype, is talking about stats again. Sorry. But is multi-attribute dependence. Okay. Right? So when I'm picking a magical person, I take ritual caster. I'm taking rituals. Don't have DCs, guys. It just does stuff. Right? I'm a magic person and I don't require it to beat your magic resistance. I'm not casting hold person and I'm trying to lock you down mechanically. No, I want to go and pick things that don't require DCs. I want to go in and say, friends, we must gather together. Lay your hand on mine and cast bless on everybody that puts their hand in the circle, right? We're fortified by morale. No, you got a D4 extra on all your stuff. Cool, because I cast bless. Yeah, but he did an inspiring speech. No, let us rally, let us come together, let us, and I will lead the charge, right? And okay, great. Awesome. That's a D4 for everybody. it's a magical spell, yes, but in the game it's magical as opposed to saying I cast bless on him and him, right? RP it, make it distinct and whatnot, and so watch out for those things. I mean, even in past editions, second edition with intelligence and illusion spells.
Yep.
The smarter your character was, there was like a quiet passive bonus that you got to your illusion spells, because obviously if you're a more intelligent character, you can draw a better illusory orc.
You can hold more details within your brain in order to put into your illusions.
I would argue against that, and I think it's good that we dropped that, because is a scientist a better artist than an artist? If they're equivalent, a good scientist and a good artist, can they swap places? I don't think so. I don't think that arguably, maybe, but I don't think that they see the same thing. I think the artist might see more detail if that's their thing, right?
Right.
So don't be afraid of making good choices to allow your character to succeed in that role of becoming. Identify is a ritual that anyone with it can cast, right? It doesn't require you to pass the items, mystery check with your intelligence and you have to roll Arcana against it.
Right.
No, it's just add that into the mystique of what you've got going on.
Right.
Yeah. I think is kind of one of the things that I want to finish off with. I think we talked about a lot, and this last bit is kind of heavy. When we're talking about reflavoring it, do what you want to do, be creative, don't be afraid. Swing for the bleachers.
Right.
And if you only make a home run, great.
Right.
Right.
Well, if you only get one base, right.
It's still a success.
Right, but if you don't swing, that's 2 times you've hit your microphone. I've only hit my microphone 0 times.
0 times.
I just want to tell everyone out there who's listening to us and watching us that I do the editing for these videos, and officially, Byron actually hits the microphone way more than I do.
Way more. I just have to make a bigger thing of it when he does it because I have to.
That's your character archetype.
That's I'm the blamer archetype. Huh. I feel attacked.
But yeah, no, I do enjoy this series that we're doing though. This idea of sort of freeing these archetypes from sort of preset beliefs that we have, so that you guys out there have sort of more avenues of creativity for your creativity to flow into, so you can make more kind of characters that you might not have thought that you could have before. But maybe you'd be like, oh, I have this really interesting idea. And now I sort of have more tools to work with, right? Well, so I'm excited to do these kind of talks.
And challenge yourself, right? When you do this, say, okay, Steve Rogers is a fighter. Okay, cool. What if he was a wizard? How would I make him?
Yeah.
Right? How would I take these characters, take these tropes, take your inspiration, right, from back when we were talking about making compelling characters, take your inspiration and go, well, what if it wasn't what I think what the easiest road is to get to this? What if I made this a little bit more creative? What if I took it into a different, what if I wove it into my backstory? Oh, he got lost in the Feywild. Oh, okay. So now he's a wizard, but all of his spells are plant-based.
Right.
Vegan wizard. Go for it. Right? like do that kind of stuff, have that kind of fun, tell those kinds of stories, because
I like carnivore wizard more.
Carnivore wizard? Yeah, meatball. Boom. That's the flavor. That's 30-foot radius of flavor. But go forth and challenge yourself to these things, because
it's Blurning Hand.
That's the blurning. That's the blur. It's hot blood and gravy. Wow. I'm trying to be motivational.
Sorry.
Right. Go forth and just do it.
Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. The next one in our series is going to be unboxing the roguish archetype, the sneaky expertise type characters.
Expertise.
So look forward to that. But until then, this has been the channel that you will like and subscribe to.
That's 3. I didn't hit the mic 3 times.
Yeah.
We always got to plug more than I hit the mic. So yes, please like, subscribe, get in the comments. I challenge you to take your favorite martial class idea, favorite character in the past, and sprinkle pixie dust on them, get them magical, tell us how it would work. Tell us what the flavor was that you want to change it to, and show us the transformation. Give us your magical glow up. right?
I like
Take your
I like
PCs
it.
and do a magical glow up and see what you can come up with. Because I think there's some really cool ideas out there
Mm-hmm.
that are just under the surface, and when you start digging, they're gonna come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Nice. Well, this guy right here, he's
Sean.
and this guy right here, he's Byron, and we are Caffeine and Cantrips. We really appreciate you spending this time with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you're gonna try something new, and we'll catch you next time. Or else. No, I'm just maintenance. I'm here to dust.